Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to another Chamber check-in episode from Idaho's only five-star accredited chamber. Today, we get to talk with Kacey Wheeler. She's the cyber specialist for Marsh McLennan Agency, and I'm going to bring her on the stage right now.
Hello.
Hi, Kacey. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, these chamber check-ins have been really great ways of sharing our members' stories, their products and services. But what I love to do is learn about the people behind the brands, right? So let's start with you, Kacey. Tell us a little bit about your background and history of work.
Yeah. So my name's Kacey Wheeler. I work at Marsh McLennan Agency as a cyber insurance specialist. So I really focus specifically on cyber insurance placements for our business insurance clients and helping provide resources for comprehensive cyber risk management to help organizations stay ahead of evolving cyber trends. So I have been interested in cybersecurity for a long time. I graduated from Boise State University with a degree in cyber operations and resilience.
Wow.
So go Broncos. I worked in a software or security operations center. So I specifically monitored a lot of rural Idaho school district networks, some small rural communities in Idaho, and some small colleges and universities. And basically, we alerted them if there were any security issues to their networks. I also worked in software development for a local startup for a while before coming to MMA around helping streamers grow their audiences, which was really fun to get to make a cool platform around that. So really, these experiences kind of helped me with the technical side, and then applying it to the insurance side for about 1.5 years now at MMA. So I have different cybersecurity and insurance certifications, including a certification from Carnegie Mellon. So looking forward to just continuing to learn and grow in cybersecurity and insurance too to continue to help our organizations.
Wow, Kacey, that's incredible background and very talented.
Well, thanks.
And did you grow up here in Boise?
Yes, I did. I've lived here
Okay.
since I was 2. So, yeah, basically a Boise native. So, really passionate about helping our organizations here.
Well, you're like the perfect, every business wants and family wants their kids to go to school here that live here. And then they want them to find a good job. So I'm so glad and proud of you, Kacey. Good job.
Thanks. I'm very, very lucky I get to stay here and work a job that I really enjoy.
That's awesome. Okay. For those that don't know, tell us a little bit about Marsh McLennan Agency. We knew the agency through a different name previously. Help me share kind of the history and origin story
Yeah.
and kind of the territory and then we'll talk about the breadths of services here in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, MMA was formerly known as Payne West Insurance. We officially joined the MMA family in 2021 and adopted the name in 2023. So we're part of a world leader in risk and strategy now, and are reside in Idaho, Montana, Oregon, and Washington, where we have offices.
Okay, but so it started in 2021?
It's been around for a long time. I don't remember the exact year that we
Okay.
started now, but yeah, quite a while. And
Okay.
originating in Montana and kind of expanding out from there.
And that's what we have known. It was the Payne West agency, now Marsh McLennan. Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit about the services that the business community would want to know that Marsh McLennan provides.
Right. So MMA, we're a broker of a lot of different insurance products. So, like I said, I really specialize specifically on the cyber side of things. But we do all kinds of lines of business insurance, personal insurance, employee benefits, and surety, really tailored to meet the unique needs of clients. And we really just try and provide risk prevention and help organizations with informed decision making to create customized solutions that protect organizations' assets and personal assets. So really across the board, risk managers.
Okay, terrific. Not the property and casualty insurance.
Yes, we'll do that.
Oh,
Just I
okay,
I don't particularly specialize in that side of
okay.
things, but so yeah, that's a lot of times how I kind of get involved with organizations and talking through the cyber insurance is working through them through our agency with other lines of business, and then kind of talking about the cyber risk in addition to their other risks that, on the property casualty side, for example.
Okay, let's talk about your specialty. Let's talk a little
Yeah.
bit about cyber and why it's important and what are some of the risks out there. You know, we all right now we're streaming, right? We're using technology to connect and to engage, and we store all of our data in servers, and we use the internet to communicate. Um, as a as this is our chamber check-in for chamber member businesses, what types of trends are you seeing out there?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing, new trends continue to evolve around cyber. Cyber is an interesting area to be involved in the risk management business since, some other lines of coverage like property and casualty, for example, it's, hey, we're still worried about the same kind of risks that we were hundreds of years ago with fires and, weather related events. But with cyber, this is constantly changing things that we're seeing coverage continue to evolve and meet these risks, and things that we're constantly telling clients about these new kinds of risks. So, really just wanted to highlight a couple things that we're seeing today. Ransomware is continuing to be an issue for organizations. We're seeing more organizations impacted by ransomware, and it's continuing to increase. Luckily, we are seeing less organizations having to pay a ransom for a ransomware event, which is good, since really we don't want to have to be paying ransomware demands if we don't have to. Organizations are putting better security controls or better preparing themselves for if they do face these ransomware kind of events. But they are still encountering losses like potential business interruption expense. So they're having a loss of income related to a cyber event, or having data restoration kind of costs where maybe some of their data is deleted, rendered unusable from a cyber event, and they're having to potentially rebuild that data. So less on the ransomware payment side, but still seeing other costs associated with that. Another big trend is business email compromise that we're continuing to see, where attackers are leveraging email access for different activities within an organization. So we're seeing, especially we have a lot of contractors within our region, and something that we're continuing to see happen to contractors is email access used to send fraudulent invoices to their customers, which can then potentially leave them out, hundreds of thousands of dollars
Wow.
if they're not potentially getting that invoice they were supposed to get from their customers. I've also seen for an organization email access used to access financial software of that organization and change all 50 of their ACH numbers for their vendors to their own,
Oh my
um, and
goodness.
try and send those payments to themselves, as well as use it to access the HR software for that employee, and then look to get the um, actual paycheck of that employee wired to themselves as well. So they can really get a lot of access just from email and really embed themselves in an organization. So something that we're continuing to educate organizations around, making sure that they're having some type of authentication when they're wiring funds, making sure that whoever's saying, hey, we changed our process for sending these funds, please send this a different place, that they're actually calling, verifying, um, as well as making sure that they have proper protections in place for their emails. But yeah,
Now,
definitely some scary stuff.
that is scary stuff. How is Marsh McLennan helping um, businesses implement some of these security measures?
Yeah, so for these different kinds of risks, we're really trying to take a comprehensive risk management strategy for organizations. So, like I said, we're an insurance broker, so we focus a lot on the insurance side of things, but we really try to help our clients around comprehensive risk management strategies. So, a lot of times I'm talking to organizations about our top 12 controls that we're seeing carriers wanting to have organizations implement around security. So, things that they can put in place that are going to help stop a lot of attacks or help them better recover from attacks. So these are things like multi-factor authentication, making sure that a attacker can't just log into your email, for example, with just having your password. We're seeing a lot of organizations getting compromised just because of credentials being exposed. So having this can really be helpful for organizations. Endpoint detection and response is also something that we're really making sure organizations have in place, which is essentially like antivirus 2.0 is what you can think of it, something that people are a little bit more familiar with antivirus. But it's kind of taking it one step further, not only detecting when organizations are potentially under attack, but taking responsive measures towards stopping that kind of attack. So really making sure that they're remaining protected. Another piece that we're talking with organizations about is backups. Those are something that are continuing to help organizations, especially in those ransomware kind of events. Uh, but not only just having backups, but making sure that you're testing your backups so that if you do have a ransomware kind of event or any other kind of event, that you really know how to get your data back, how to continue operations, and that those backups are going to be there to help you. It's also important that they're secured, separated from the rest of your network. So if you do have a compromise of your day-to-day systems, they're also not included in that. Um, and then finally, I guess a big thing that I would highlight is really an incident response plan is something every organization should have. If they don't, this is something that I usually talk to organizations about first and foremost, because really having a plan of who to contact, what initial steps you're going to take, is really going to help a lot if you do have a cyber event. We see some organizations who maybe never thought about what a cyber event would look like for them. So they tend to struggle a little bit if that happens and they really haven't thought about those things before. But it's really important that organizations really take into account, hey, what is my risk? What do I need to actually protect? What is your revenue? What kind of sensitive records do you have? One of the best kind of starting principles with risk management is just identifying what you really need to protect. A good quote that I have heard from a professor around cyber risk management is like, you don't build a gold wall around a stack of quarters, which I really like, saying, hey, you're not going to spend $1 million to protect what might be worth $1,000 for your organization. So really understanding what to implement comes down to what your risk is. But really, in today's day and age, we want to implement cyber resilience. So making sure that you're not just saying, hey, preventing against a cyber event, but really taking on the idea of, hey, a cyber event will happen to us, and how are we going to respond to it when it does happen? So really knowing how to bounce back and not just prevent cyber incidents, but how to, like I talked about with endpoint detection and response, how do you detect that, and how do you respond effectively, like with an incident response plan? Those are really areas organizations should be taking the time to invest in and prepare.
Wow, Kacey, you really know your stuff. And if I were a business owner, I'd want to talk to you about, hey, what is important here? And I think what I'd like to talk about now is, how old is cybersecurity insurance, and how has it evolved, and what type of protections or what does it cover?
Yeah, for sure. Cyber insurance is definitely a kind of baby in the insurance world when we think about insurance. Like, when we talked about property and casualty, like, hey, that's something that's existed for who knows how long, hundreds and hundreds of years. But really, cyber insurance is something that maybe in the past like 9 or 10 years has really come around, and especially in the last couple years has something that's been taking off a lot more as organizations really realize, hey, cyber risk is something that we should be worried about and something that we should be taking measures to help protect ourselves. So there's a couple different things that really we look at covering underneath cyber insurance. And like I said, when we look at cyber insurance, we're taking a holistic approach to cyber risk management. So we're really focused on those security controls in tandem with having that insurance policy if, when you do have that worst day potentially, to be a backstop financially and provide those resources for you. So essentially what you get from a cyber policy, there's first party coverages that are going to help with costs that you directly incur from a cyber event, as well as third party coverages. So helping if there's a liability component to it. So like first party, Really the big thing that we're looking at are breach response expenses. So it's going to be the cost of having legal involved to help you with a cyber incident. So legal is really going to help kind of quarterback the event for you. So when you report a cyber claim, they're going to help step you through, hey, what things do I need to be worried about on the legal side of things? And they're going to help engage forensics on your behalf. So the forensics are going to be the technical side of things that are going to help determine, hey, what happened here? What potential systems were compromised? How do we make sure that they're not able to continue about in the organization? So they'll really help you from the technical side of things, which was part of the cyber policy, as well as PR potentially if you needed to have a response out to the public helped manage for you. So those are kind of the big pieces of the first party. There's also business interruption expense.
Oh,
So helping you with the income loss that you might potentially experience, as well as ransomware coverage, where a policy could potentially help step up and pay a ransomware demand if you did have to in that situation. Like I said, something that we try and prepare organizations so they're able to recover without paying that kind of ransom in that situation. But that's really, what that looks at. Kind of an evolving risk that I didn't touch on when just talking through some of the risk was supply chain risk. That's something that we're
oh,
seeing a
absolutely.
lot more, especially in really for every industry. Every industry is relying on third parties for their kind of business. So that's something that we look at underneath the cyber policy to basically help you with business interruption costs incurred because your third party has a cyber event. And because of that, you can't continue operation. This was something that we saw with some dealerships earlier this last year where their dealer management system went down. And
Yep.
yeah, and so they had to go back to pen and paper for their organization. So very disruptive, but something that we can look to kind of help with that kind of risk of those third parties with cyber insurance. And then that third party piece would be, hey, someone's suing you because you potentially had data in your organization that was exposed from a cyber event, is really where we see a lot of the third party coverages. And then kind of the final piece is the cyber crime piece where, hey, someone's saying, hey, I'm so and so person, send over this amount of $100,000 that was meant for actually a different vendor, but they're posing to be that vendor. That would essentially help cover you for those kinds of losses. So
Wow.
it's really kind of encompassing with the different risks that we're seeing around cyber, and something that, like I said, is continuing to evolve at a lot more rapid pace than maybe some of the other insurance lines that we look at.
Okay. This is great. I learned so much from these calls. I'm going to put the website on the bottom of the screens, mmanorthwest.com. If you want to get a hold of Kacey, let me know. We can connect you. We have a couple more minutes here. Is there anything else that you'd like to educate the public on while we have you?
Yeah, I would just encourage really organizations to think about their cyber risks, steps that they can continue to take. And, I hope some of the tips that we talked about of things that organizations are, or our carriers are really wanting organizations to have around cyber insurance, as well as just overall strategies of cyber resiliency. It's something I would encourage you to take on the mindset of, hey, how are we going to respond to a cyber event if we did have one, not just kind of focus on the prevention side, but really how do we recover? And I'd also encourage you to talk with your insurance broker around some of these risk management strategies and around if cyber insurance makes sense and how you could best utilize this type of risk management.
Kacey, this has been so informative and a delight to meet you here
Yeah, same to
over
you.
over the over this chamber check-in. Um, Everybody, that is Kacey Wheeler. I'm so glad you took the time with us today. And tune in next week. We get to hear from our folks at Gaston's Bakery, Matthew Chu. Can't wait to help share his story. Until then, everybody have a great Memorial Day weekend.
Have a great weekend.